Hi, I'm Talia.
Hi, I'm Matthew, and we are the critics.
So we had the amazing opportunity to interview Mr. Pieter-Dirk Uys, as well as the director of the film Nobody's Died Laughing, Mr. Willem Oelofsen. Here is, as promised, our full interview with them at the Elizabeth Snedden Theatre at the world premiere of Nobody's Died Laughing.
So firstly, just obviously a massive congratulations on the film. And the first question I think to both of you is why this project, what was involved, Pieter-Dirk, why open up your personal life, and Willem, how did you get involved?
Well, first of all, the great excitement of being asked to do this. Who would bother? And I thought, first of all, I said it's going to be a very short film. And then he said, well, there's this and there's that, and I thought, oh, I see, okay. So it's not just like red carpet chat, and it's about inspiration and about reflecting other people's questions. The audience, again, it's all about the audience, and I don't usually do this. I haven't got time with all the CV and that. But this was really truly like an adventure for me, and re-exploring old roads that I passed by, and I suddenly thought, oh, is that where that happened? And then meeting up with lots of old friends and new friends, and it was. I sat here watching Pieter-Dirk Uys, and that's really for the first time I didn't get up and buy some popcorn. It was nice.
Well, obviously, my involvement isn't my idea, but the idea comes from me. 10 years ago, Evita decided to have her 70th birthday, and there was like a function for fundraiser for the Darling Trust, and I was invited to that. And just with everybody there that evening, and the whole event kind of, I need to do something about this. I just didn't know what to. And then 10 years later, I did publicity for Peter's show at Theatre on the Bay, where I was working, and meeting him then backstage, and it kind of just clicked. This needs to be a documentary film where we can bring all these elements of his life in, and so I typed up my idea and sent it to him, and he said, let's put our lipsticks together and come up with a plan. And here we are, and we've been having such a laugh, and that's what I think is also in the film, is that we had fun, and even though it wasn't always easy, and of course it's never easy, it shouldn't be, but we had such a good time. And making, probably one of the most difficult things was that everywhere we go, people want this, and there's a reason for that, so why wouldn't you want to make a film? Everywhere in Berlin, people stopped us on a bus, an airport bus, to the plane in Istanbul to speak to Pieter-Dirk Uys. And so that is, obviously, then that's enough as a reason to why to tell the story.
It's just to capture some of the comments that were made after the screening by some of the young people especially. They often commend your bravery and your drive at the time when most of your work was done in the 70s, 80s, 90s in South Africa. What motivated you to take on all of those difficult topics and the personalities of the time? And for Willem, my question relates to that. How were you introduced to Mr. Uys, and what inspired you as a young South African watching him?
I suppose I can answer that question now because I've had experience and time to think of the answer, but really truly, it had to be done. There was not a case of, I wonder if I'll do it, am I motivated? It just, I was so upset by the bad smell of our society and the things that were obviously wrong, which questioned my whole background as a Christian kid who was brought up not to believe that the politics of South Africa was the right thing to believe. But even that sounds too sophisticated. It was just instinctive. It was just like, no, enough now. I want to do something. I want to irritate them. I want to make them cross. And that's why I use lots of swear words to really piss them off. Get away. It just was the right thing to do. It just had to be done. And the more they said don't do it, the more I did it. And the more they stopped me, I thought, I'm going to find new ways. And that's why I created characters. Evita was not my fan. Evita would write letters to the Minister of Police saying, lock Pieter-Dirk Uys up. Until the Minister of Police wrote back to her, care of me. and said, Evita, we can't lock up Pieter-Dirk Uys because our jails are full of everyone else. Then I got a shock to realize that my target, my enemy, had a sense of humor. Never, ever think politicians are stupid. They only are clever to get where they are. They might create a stupid person. You know, like Donald Trump has created a very stupid, frightening fascist. He's not stupid, really. The man behind the mask is not. So, one learned all these things through. With Evita there, if they want to come in, who will they arrest? She'll probably say to the police, there's Pieter-Dirk Uys. But where's Pieter-Dirk Uys? Is he there? Is he there? Anarchy is my key. So just mix things up for them. Make them uncomfortable.
As young lawyers, I think that's a very interesting perspective to look at it from. But behavior as young people, especially, it's very inspirational.
Thank you, thank you.
I think for me, growing up, I come from a farm in the Eastern Cape. You know, growing up not being exposed to what was happening, only because at that time I didn't know I was exposed to. So, but finding Peter's work in his writing, and then later on in the plays, seeing shows, and then meeting him, the inspiration came from just the things that I learned, like chatting, and he would say, a democracy gets what it deserves. People don't partake, you know, people don't participate in their country, they don't meet up, if they don't go and vote. If you don't participate, then you get all of those things inspired me to say, well, I have to share him and with everybody, and especially with young people.
Willem, that's really interesting that you say that, because I think even though we're from totally different worlds, I grew up in an average Indian family in Durban, but Auntie Evita is one of the first faces I remember seeing on TV in my memory as a child. And my father, who was, you know, a normal Indian man, that got in trouble with the apartheid government for being in a park where he wasn't supposed to be. He'd watch you do good water and he would laugh until he cried. So the film really touched me in that, you know, a lot of the personalities spoke about taking away that barrier of fear and personalizing the politicians was, which I think before our generation even understood what racism or apartheid was, because we are, you know, so-called born free. You really managed to put it into our brains before we even, you know, understood it completely.
Good.
So I'm really grateful.
Good.
Matthew feels the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I saw you at the Snedden a few years ago when you did a show I can't remember the name of, unfortunately, but that was the first time that I saw what comedy, what entertainment, it changed how I viewed those mediums and what those mediums are capable of. It was the first time that I said, this is how entertainment was used during apartheid as a form of resistance. And in hearing that I was going to get the amazing opportunity to interview, I did some research on you, obviously. And would you mind just discussing, and it comes across in the film, and it's just, I think, an amazing philosophy of your philosophy of how to deal with fear and what, and
the percentages of it.
Yeah, and that, yeah.
Well, first of all, give it a name. I have a friend who had cancer. Nobody would talk about it, as people don't want to talk about it. Pretend it wasn't there. And then she one day talked about Johnny. Johnny's giving me a hard time, and I'm not quite sure what she was talking about. Johnny was cancer. She'd given it a name. And the moment she gave it a name, she could talk about it and understand it and be in charge of it. It killed her eventually, but she knew it would. But it wasn't just the secret disease. And so, you know, confront your fear. I always say, you know, look at it. It will never be taller than you. Find out why you're frightened of it. Don't look away, because then it'll become so big you will never look at it, and it'll win. That's the simplest way that I can answer that question, because again, it's an instinctive thing. When you analyze fear, usually after the event, you realize that it was all in a little crash. And you believe the rubbish, and you can look at the world today. People are scared of so many things, and when you analyze that why, there is no reason to be scared. You know, out of the billion refugees from Syria, there are not 999,000 ISIS fighters. That's nonsense. There might be 12, there are probably 20, and they could destroy the world. Again, confront that and understand that. But you see what I mean? So
yeah.
We must do homework. It's up to us. You know, when the tsunami of fear hits you, see that you've taken a deep breath before it hits you, otherwise you're going to drown.
And then Willem, just how did you, I mean, Pieter-Dirk's life is massive, and all the involvement that he's had, how do you as a director decide this is what I'll focus on, this is what I'll give time to, how did you deal with that challenge?
That was where the scripting was so interesting, is after shooting 6 terabyte drives full of footage and then scripting it so that from which the editor then cut it. And in that script writing, there was so much in it, and every time you can just take a little bit away and still say the same thing. And those things were listed from the beginning. Those were the inspiration, the times, the era in which it all happened. And not just to reminisce on those times, to say things don't really change that much, and things are not new, nothing's new. We are the people that are now supposed to be standing up. We are the young comedians and young sashers that should now break down the government, or anything that's a problem. So all of those themes were listed from the beginning, and I kind of just then scripted the film so that it fit into all of those things. And then the personal stuff, of course, the telling of his story for his mother's and his father's life stories was important, because that's also who Pieter-Dirk, that's where he comes from, that's where he is.
As I watched the film, I kept thinking, it's about time that this was done. How could someone not have done it before? Because Mr. Uys is such a prolific entertainer in South Africa. And one thing that you did teach us was to question the government.
Yeah.
We had that in us because of people like you. Even before we took on our studies or took on high school or anything like that, you've allowed us to question and think differently. What do you feel us as youths need to change in order to change the government's action?
Well, first of all, vote on the 3rd of August. That's the most important thing. Do your homework. I keep on saying to young people, an election is the exam after 4 years of hard study. And nobody thinks like that. Oh, we've got to vote. Who do you vote for? Well, my parents went to the ANC. Okay, click, click. Find out who the good people are. There are always good politicians, and we've got lots of them in all the parties. Find out who they are. Let them know that we know that they're good. That encourages them. And find the people who are going to make your dream come true. Otherwise you're going to be left behind. So if the people, there's that good line which was in the film, if the people lead, the government will follow.
Yeah.
The people at the moment are not people. We will lose our country. The government won't take it away from us. We will lose it because there are some very strong elements in every government that want to take things their way. And if we don't just balance it with opinion and criticism, it'll go that way. So it's always critical.
And don't just post random things on social media and rant and, think. If you're a young person in this country and you're not happy, take part. Go there. And that's what the film's about, is that Pieter-Dirk has never stood on stage saying this and that. And then he's gone. He's gone to the people and taken action. And that's what we should do. Don't just, be better. Don't post crap on, social media. That's not the difference. The difference is, are you participating in your society? And you don't have to go far. There's a community just around you, but take part. And I think that's...
And humor is a very, very important weapon of mass destruction. No, distraction. Because people don't expect to remember what they laughed at. And they can laugh at something and they walk out and they think, hey, wait a minute, I laughed at that, I don't want to think about that. So there we are.
I think we could keep asking questions all evening and still not be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so incredibly much for the film. Congratulations again, and just for everything else.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed that. If you liked this video, please click like or subscribe to our channel to see more. We are going to be following DIFF until the 26th of June, until its end. If you want to catch Nobody's Died Laughing, it's showing on the 24th of June at Musgrave, and again on the 26th of June at the Playhouse. Go and see it. If you're in Durban, you have no reason or excuse not to be going to the Durban International Film Festival 2016. I'm Matthew.
I'm Talia.
And this has been The Critics at the Durban International Film Festival 2016.